Good evening, and welcome to Lit Up, the Southern California News Group's virtual program on authors, thinkers, and the literary life of SoCal. We're back because of popular demand, so thank you to our Reader Rewards subscribers and to all of you who've made this series a success. We're calling this season Holiday Cheer, and tonight's first episode is Foodies and Fun. I'm Samantha Dunn. I'm the Senior Editor of Engagement and Premium Content of the Southern California News Group and also an author myself. Before we get started, here are a couple things to know. All of you as attendees are muted just to allow for the free flow of conversation among the panelists. But if you have questions or you want to add a comment, use the chat feature on the Zoom toolbar on your screen. We'll be monitoring these questions and comments and we'll respond as much as possible. This session will be videotaped and a link will be sent to you and posted on the SCNG YouTube channel. And also please do check our websites. Now, this season of Lit Up is brought to you by our sponsor, the Goswami Clinic in Newport Beach, California. And now here's a word from them.
Hello and happy holidays. My name is Melissa. I'm the nurse at the Goswami Clinic in Newport Beach. We focus on regenerative medicine and natural healing with your own cells. We've worked with numerous athletes and individuals who struggle with arthritis, injuries, and more to help heal them the natural way without surgeries or steroids. I am extremely passionate about educating the community about these options. If you are interested in picking up Dr. Goswami's book, The Stem Cell Cure, it is available to you on Amazon. If you do pick it up, please let us know and we can schedule you a consultation and Dr. Goswami will gladly sign it for you. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening. Hello and happy holidays. My name
And for another. Thanks again for the Goswami Clinic. Now it is my pleasure to bring up our host for Lit Up. She is a writer, performer, and radio commentator. You might have heard her work on NPR's Morning Edition and This American Life. She is a contributing editor for The Atlantic and host of the syndicated daily radio Minute, The Lowdown on Science. Her previous book, published by W.W. Norton, is Mad Woman in the Volvo, and her most recent book is Mad Woman and the Roomba, which came out this summer. Beaming to us from beautiful Pasadena, please welcome my friend, Sandra Singlo.
Well, hello, Samantha. So fun to see you with holidays and cheer. And so that was why I'm wearing a hat. I had such a bad hair day. I go, it's the holidays and cheer. You're going to see me increasingly wear more and more necklaces. I think I used to rock an apocalyptic bandana back in the time. That's over. It's Foodies and Fun. And this is what we're doing. And although it could be in the pandemic, I don't know if you noticed, Sam, we're in a pandemic. So there has been a lot of stress eating.
I thought I was just in my house for
right.
no anyway.
Yes, they call it the COVID-19, the 19 pounds that are mostly around the belly, but I'm saying, how could you blame me? The grocery store was the only place that were allowed to go. And thank God we could wear a mask so that they didn't say, who's that lady buying 5 packets of Oreos and cheese and ice cream and box wine.
No, I'll tell you a true story today, or not today, yesterday, I called our pizza delivery place and they said, oh, hello, Mrs. Dunn.
Well, you know, you're supporting the economy and that's a great thing. And I think my favorite term for it is a German term called Kummerspeck, weight gain through emotional overeating. It literally translates as grief bacon. But that's over because we're in this new 4-series season of holiday cheer. So we're going to pivot to food and fun. It doesn't mean that we're going to eat less food in stressful times with maybe better food.
Exactly, because as the title of the book for our first guest says, food people are the best people.
But I'd also like to say, as Julia Child said, people who love to eat are always the best people. So that is us.
That's me.
And with that, with the Great British Baking Show, go to your tent and let's bring on our first esteemed guest, which I'm so excited for. Okay, and that guest is Kristin Logan. And although we are Southern California people, we do welcome a Northern Californian, which is to say, in this 60-second download, based in Oakland, California, photographer storyteller Kristen Loken is a California native avid foodie, and traveler. Check this out. Most recently, she spent 4 months eating her way through Africa and Europe with Remote Year, the innovative work travel program. In 2014, she photographed and published a coffee table guidebook. This is Oakland, of her hometown. Her work has also been featured in Design Mom, How to Live with Kids, that I have still to read, although I have two, Music for a City, Music for the World, 100 Years with the San Francisco Symphony, See, Condé Nast Traveler, San Francisco Magazine, and Sunset. Her newest book, Food People Are the Best People, a tribute to California's food industry, is filled with lush images and soulful interviews with some of our state's most influential and inspiring culinary and winemaking talents. Coming December 1st. Welcome, Kristen, from Oakland, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, such a pleasure. So we'll discuss whether food people really are the best people. Of course they are, but can you talk a little bit about the evolution of this book, which came around in this pandemic era, if you will? I mean, what led you to create it?
You know, photography is by definition not a remote opportunity as much as I tried on Remote Year. And so, yeah, all of my work shut down. I was at a conference in Palm Springs and came home, and all of my assignments canceled, all of my events postponed or canceled. And I was, scared like everybody else. And after the first little bit of, updating my website and, I was catching up on bookkeeping, I kept busy. I needed something creative to do. And a lot of my favorite clients are my restaurant clients, and they were hurting immediately and partly. They were almost some of the worst, and very, very quickly were some of the first hits. So at first I just kind of wanted to drop by and do a portrait. A lot of photographers were doing socially distanced portraits, families on their porches to document their time together. And I don't do a lot of family photography, mostly for friends, but my restaurant clients I really wanted to reconnect with them and let them know that I was thinking about them and share the images so that they could potentially then remind people that they're there and they were pivoting and doing takeout. So I started reaching out to people, and everybody had these incredible stories. They'd pivoted all their employees. The waiters were now learning how to do their websites and helping with social media. The GMs were like designing their cookbooks. They were fighting tooth and nail to make sure their employees had health insurance. They were prepping 1,000 meals a week for food runners before they started their takeout business. They were doing everything they could to survive and take care of the people in their lives. And the more stories I heard, the more people I reached out to, and the more I felt like this really needed to become something more tangible and permanent to really preserve in a way of like a time capsule of this time and these stories and these spirits that, while they were losing so much, were still pouring love back into their communities and also finding silver linings along the way. So there were joys and sadnesses, and little bits of it.
Getting to the joys, which I think it's so beautifully said, the emotions and the interviews are grief, sorrow, loss, joy, hope, vulnerability. I mean, California is certainly a state that, pandemic, and then the heat waves, and then wildfires, which really, that whole story is and was there something about even the wildfires that, I don't know, that provoked just even a new sense of survival?
Absolutely. There were even more layers at that point. I'd reached out to one of the favorite shoots I did was at Root Down Farms in Pescadero, beautiful family-run farm. And I spent the morning with Dee, the rancher, and her 2-year-old daughter. And 2 weeks later, they were evacuated, and they packed up as many of their animals as they could, but they had to leave all their poultry. And they had invested so much time and money and care into their Thanksgiving turkeys, and they had to leave, and they couldn't even get back to see if they were okay. And in the end, they were fine. The fire stopped right across the road from them. But to add this, they're already in a business that's stretched thin. Their restaurant clients are not ordering as much. So they've got, they're just trying to figure out how to feed their communities. And then they pack up all their chickens and run. I mean, it was just, and just so many people, I would lose track of them for a little bit, or, wouldn't hear back for a little bit. And it was because they were defending their homes from the fires in Napa, or they'd had to evacuate again. I mean, it was incredible. And in fact, actually the day I photographed Michael Tusk that we were out at their farm out in Bolinas, and it was the day of the lightning storms that started all the fires there.
Oh,
so
gosh.
we were ducking in between the chard and kale, trying to get the photographs in between lightning bolt strikes, and then to find out that fire started then, it was insane. So yeah, that added a whole nother layer to the difficulties.
And what was the silver lining, or were there, that you found?
One couple said that they hadn't had dinner together since they'd opened their restaurant 7 years ago. And since they were just doing takeout and closing at 5, they were having dinner together every night. And Lincoln Carson from your neighborhood, he'd lost his baby restaurant, Bon Temps. He'd been working so hard, and it really was his baby. They'd shared a wall with this restaurant. And it just wasn't going to make it. They shut it down, but they moved to where they've always wanted to live. He's spending a ton more time with his daughter and his wife, and he's got more business opportunities than he knows what to do with. But he spent his entire summer with his daughter, and he said, I could just see her blossom. She is just thriving with 2 parents around full time. And it was a light bulb moment where he realized, you know what, I can make choices. I can still be creative. I can still be an entrepreneur, make beautiful food, but I can also have my beautiful family. So it was little things like that.
And I think it's interesting, of your 129 food and beverage industry pros, you have some longtime marquee names like Nancy Silverton and Alice Waters. And it's interesting to note that, in the old fashioned school, you had Craig Claiborne, or it was like a white male, it was like cooking. Now you have superstars that are women. And then there's so much diversity in your book of people that may be new to people reading the book. And I mean, to what extent is diversity part of the story of California food?
We are such a diverse state. And like you said, it's just the default, I mean, coming from, white French kitchens, right? I mean, we evolved from that. But people are bringing so much to the table of their own personalities, of their own cultures, and it just adds more and more beauty to what we have to offer. And so it was really important to me to reach out, not just to have amazing veteran titans of this industry, but one couple is a chef fundraising to open their first restaurant. One couple did just actually open a successful Kickstarter, and so there's these stories that are all from every part of the spectrum, right? Just starting out to, leaving a legacy, and everything in between. And the voices, they were all unique. They were all special. Everybody opened up. Everybody shared something vulnerable. It was really powerful. And I feel like having that whole spectrum of age and culture, ethnicity, race, like having every aspect of that spectrum, I felt like just it made it all that much more interesting and powerful to see those common threads.
And speaking of new restaurants, I mean, where do you see the future of restaurants going, in this particular time? Clearly we're going to be in this pandemic for a while. We're entering winter and fall. So, and I've heard that you can't even buy an outdoor heater. They're all out of stock, which is going to be necessary. So where do you see some of the strands, the themes going forward in terms of that?
Sadly, I feel like the special occasion restaurants are going to be kind of the worst hit, the hardest term. The restaurants that you go to once a year and their clientele tends to be a little older, those are more vulnerable demographics. And so I think those flavors and those menus are going to have to evolve to survive. And the things that seem to be doing the best are things with the greatest locations. Our downtown is a ghost town. There's nothing at the convention center. There's the places that invested in really, really giant spaces that are incredibly beautiful and so wonderful to experience. They're not going to be able to bear it out, sadly. The overhead's too high. So while I don't have a crystal ball and I'm by no means an expert on the restaurant business, I think neighborhood spots, smaller spots, things that really cater to a younger demographic that's going to feel less vulnerable, that might go out more often. There'll be a smaller check, but they'll be able to go more often.
That's what they say about theater too, that like off Broadway will come back quicker their Broadway and off Broadway maybe come back even quicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, 15% of the proceeds from your book go to the nonprofit No Kid Hungry. Can you talk a little bit about that and why you chose the charity?
Yeah, it was really important to me to have a philanthropic wing to this from the very beginning. And it started, childhood hunger is just such a tragedy in this country. There's no reason that in a normal year, 11 million children should go hungry. And then this year, they're seeing that potentially 18 million children will be underfed, partly because of school closures. They depend on their meals from their schools, from summer meal programs, parents being out of work, checks being smaller. It's just hard and it's heartbreaking. And it's not just heartbreaking in the moment, it's the impact that it's going to have on the rest of their lives. So it felt like the right thing to do. It felt like something that wouldn't be just pandemic. It is useful during the pandemic and important during the pandemic, but also as the book continues, I think it's a need that needs to go away, but isn't going away tomorrow or even at the end of this pandemic. And so I picked something with a little bit more longevity, I felt like.
Last question. What food are you looking forward to the most in the holidays?
Well,
One dish. Okay, we have a new holiday tradition. We do roasted Dungeness crab with a blood orange garlicky sauce, and we have a local wood oven bread baker, Firebrand, and so I get really fancy butter and like big loaves of their sourdough, and we just roast tons of crabs and make a total mess, and it's amazing. I love it. Fancy butter, any butter is like. Thank you so much, Kristen, for being on the program. So Kristen's book is Food People. It's 100% women produced and 15% of the profits will be donated to No Kid Hungry. The book is published by Acorn Press and it comes out December 1st. So thank you very much. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun to talk to you. Have a great evening and happy holidays.
Great, my pleasure, Kristen. All right, next up we have Nas Darabian. Okay, and here's the 60-second download on Nas. Nas Darabian is an LA-based, award-winning writer, actress, and passionate home cook with an extraordinary family story. At 8 years old, Nas left Iran with her family during the height of the 1979 Iranian Revolution and hostage crisis. Over the next 10 years, check this out, the family emigrated from Iran to Rome to, wait for it, Vancouver. You didn't get that, okay? Carrying books of Persian poetry, tiny jars of saffron threads. I know they have to be tiny because that stuff's expensive. And the knowledge that home can be found in a simple, perfect pot of rice, in particular through tahdig. I don't know how I've murdered that with my accent, but it is the crispy golden jewels of rice that form a crust at the bottom of the pot. And if you're looking at that cover like I am, you're just salivating. Which happens to be the title of her debut cookbook, The Bottom of the Pot, Persian Stories and Recipes, winner of the IACP 2019 First Book Award given by the Julia Child Foundation. I want to just, she's also happily married and mother of two, which I think figures into the family cooking story. Okay, welcome Nas, thanks for coming.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Hello, my pleasure. What are you cooking tonight, by the way? Is there something in another room that we should know about?
We're ordering pizza.
And they'll say, yes, Mrs. Dunn, when it just don't be confused if they.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to start with a quote that is a great quote. It was too long to get into the 60-second download, but said Samin Nosrat, author of Salt, Fat, Acid, and Heat, like Madhur Jaffrey and Marcella Hazan before her, Nas Darabian will introduce the pleasures and secrets of her mother's culture's cooking to a broad audience that has no idea what it's been missing. America will not only fall in love with Persian cooking, it'll fall in love with Nas. Okay, I thought it was a great quote, but I wanted to say, the question is though, to what extent is mother culture central to your story?
It's everything. It's, you know, I was born in Iran. So even though I was very young when I left, it's in my blood. So Iran runs through my veins, as does the poetry, the music, the literature, and the food. Our food culture is just as big as all the rest, like as the poetry and the literature and the artists and all of that. I come from a food culture, so when I wanted to tell this story, I knew that when I wanted to, create this cookbook, I knew that I couldn't do it without getting into the culture through my own personal stories.
Right, and I love, I love the way that it is. When you thought about the title of the book on the bottom of the pot, where it's Persian stories and recipes. So the stories come first. So could you give the audience a flavor of a type of story / recipe combination? I'm not going to prompt you. I like the neighborhood thief one, but it can be any. Just how does that work? Can you tell them a little bit?
So, actually, originally when I was thinking of what are we going to call this book, I had in mind that it would be called Persian Recipes and Stories from the Bottom of the Pot. That these stories and recipes were actually simmering at the bottom of the pot. Now, of course, the bottom of the pot, and your accent's great, Sandra, Tahdig is the literal bottom of the pot. But for me, when I first started cooking for myself, which is when I left Vancouver and my mother's home to come to LA to do this crazy thing that no one's heard of, which is called acting. I was hungry. I found myself very hungry, and it's not because it was like this romantic notion of the starving artist. I was hungry for our food. I was hungry for my mother's food. I was hungry for comfort and love and familiarity. So I quickly had to learn how to cook all this stuff by myself. And as I started cooking more, and I would call my mom up and say, how do you make this dish, for instance, whatever. And we're a food culture that only shares recipes orally. Nobody writes anything down. We don't own measuring spoons, and everything's like the tip of the finger, half the arm, as big as your head. That's how we describe measurements. But as my mom would start telling me this stuff, almost every recipe came with like a memory or a story. And I found that the more I cooked, so many of my own memories from my childhood in Iran and our story of immigration, that it all started coming back to me with all the scents and the sounds and, the flavors. So, an example of one of those stories is, waiting for our immigration papers in Rome. This is a story in the book. And my mother had to return back to Iran for about a month or so. So it was just my dad and my older brother and myself. And my dad was not a cook, but he attempted to make this dish, orme sabzi, which is just made with like a mountain of herbs and dried limes and beans. And to me, when I cook that dish, for some reason, I will always in the back of my head carry that feeling of waiting in the unknown, waiting for my mom to come back, hoping she'll make it back safe and sound, waiting for our papers to come through. So these are the stories. And then The Neighborhood Thief is a story with my own family here in LA. And this might be an Iranian thing, but we have very kind neighbors. And if they didn't know, they're going to know now.
You're being outed on Lit Up.
Being out. One house has just rosemary grows everywhere, and another house has a lemon tree. And I was making this roasted chicken with saffron and orange blossom water, and I needed rosemary and lemons. So this is when the girls were younger, so I took them by the hand and I said, we got to go do something. And we just went and started cutting some rosemary and grabbed some lemons. And I wish I could have gone back with the chicken and offered it to them, as a thank you, but I didn't.
But now they know, and so you can. No, I just love that story, and it is written so in the moment and furtively, like taking the children by the hand, like, and there's the fun of it and the slyness of it, and it certainly makes. I mean, who wasn't thought to do that? And we have, but yeah. So, well, I think that in 2018 you wrote this really incredible essay in The Atlantic called writing an Iranian cookbook in the age of anxiety. And I think certainly, I mean, all of us in this country have been through pandemic and street stuff and wildfires and heat waves. And I think that it's always helpful to get like a historical background. I just love the characters of your parents, your actual parents, not the characters, of that they had been through some stuff, you like, in like government, and that it's, and a lot of moving from one place to the next, but finding sort of commonality in food. I just wonder if you could tell a little bit of your experience as you described it in that essay, and if you have any wisdom for people who are, all of us who are anxious.
Patience, which I don't have, but speaking to my dad has sadly passed away since then, but speaking to my mom these days, I constantly have to remind myself that my family's been through this a few times, a couple of times.
Right.
And all you can do is do your best, stay true to who you are, and be patient. My mother always likes to say, before you're going to say something, go have a glass of water. And I think that stands true for our time. Before you're going to tweet something that you think is just going to be so, you know, provocative, go have a glass of water and just take a second. We're all so quick to jump on each other and call each other out. And so I think that the piece itself was, when I was off, you know, when I got my book deal, this country went through a bit of a shift. It all happened around the same time. And when I was writing, like literally working on the book, the travel ban came through.
Oh, right.
Which affected me and my family and so many other people. The travel ban, also known as the Muslim ban. So that was what that piece, it came out of that while I was trying to write about this country that's always on the news and typically not on the news with enough context, like it's just these sound bites. And here I was just trying to invite you to my table to share in this food and hopefully to start a conversation and to get to know me and my story and this culture at our table.
Yeah, and I love the metaphor of the bottom of the pot and that story that you just told about waiting and connecting waiting and food, and that's certainly when stuff is cooking down. And I think that the bottom of the pot, what you say is the best is at the end. Was that how you? Yeah, and that is.
Well, that's the tahdig. You know, tahdig means tah is bottom, dig means pot. And it's literally, so it's, for anyone who doesn't know, it's Persian rice, and it's the crispy, buttery, saffron tinged rice at the bottom of the pot. And it can also sometimes be made with bread, sometimes with crispy potatoes. It's really, really good. But, and everyone fights over it, right? So as soon as you flip that pot, everyone wants a piece of the tahdig. And typically grandmas will like serve the kids first, or my kids will just reach in and take a piece themselves. But yes, I think there's a lot simmering at the bottom of the pot, literally and figuratively. And we just have to listen, smell, and wait.
Last question. What food are you looking forward to most in the holidays? Dish. Don't think. Just what's
Khoresh Fesenjun. It's the pomegranate walnut chicken stew. Oh. And it's just, it's so, everyone, I mean, if you've had Persian food, you know, my family makes it sour. We don't like it sweet. It's very popular, but my children love it. And we know that when there's fesenjun on the table, you just let out a big sigh of relief. So we might be making fesenjun this weekend.
Fantastic. After the pizza, and you can put it
after the pizza tonight
under Mrs. Dunn's Visa card name. Okay, thank you so much. Nas Darabian. Her book is The Bottom of the Pot, Persian Stories and Recipes, available online now. Thank you, Nas.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays. And next, last but not least, we have Mr. Phil Rosenthal. We're happy that he's joining us today from his son's room and wife's Pilates room. Here, if you don't know, is a 60-second download. Phil Rosenthal is the creator, writer, and executive producer of the beloved hit sitcom Everybody Loves Raymond. Thus, the comedy. We were talking comedy and food. In 2016, Phil also wrote the book You're Lucky You're Funny, How Life Becomes a Sitcom. And now I am reading my text. Isn't it funny that Phil is now the star of his own hit food and travel documentary series? The first, I'll Have What Phil's Having on PBS. And now it's Somebody Feed Phil on Netflix. The fourth season just debuted on October 30th. Oh my gosh. Rio de Janeiro, San Francisco, Singapore, the Mississippi Delta, and Hawaii. What's more perfect for COVID-safe times than armchair traveling? Although you might have get the bigger armchair now that I have my COVID-19 on me. And also for those who can't get enough, there's also Phil Rosenthal World on YouTube. Welcome, Phil.
Yay! Hello.
Hey.
Wow, I was listening. I want that bottom of the pot too. How do I get in on that?
You have to kill some children, apparently. You got to
Okay.
elbow some children. That doesn't seem right that the children get it. What's that about? But
I thought it was dad gets first.
yes, in my family it was that, but it was a Chinese German family, so
Yes.
apparently. So just to
Hi.
hello, to set things up a little bit for those who don't know how you transition from Everyone Loves Raymond to Somebody Feed Phil. How did that, and we use that dreaded word pivot, but it's a fun pivot. How did that journey go? Was it just a jump or maybe a logical development?
I've always loved travel. I've always loved food. And after the first season of Raymond, I asked Ray Romano where he was going on his hiatus. And he said, oh, I go to the Jersey Shore. And I said, oh, that's nice. Have you ever been to Europe? And he said, nah. I said, why not? He goes, I'm not really interested in other cultures. And I thought, wow, let's do that episode. Let's send you over to Italy with that attitude and have you get woke, and then you'll be transformed into me. Someone excited about travel and Italy, especially the food in Italy, the people in Italy. And I wrote the thing and we went. I had to convince him to get on an airplane, which took a couple of years. But we got there, and this arc of the character that I wrote, where he gets transformed, I saw happen to my friend, the person. I saw Ray Romano, like, boom, he got it. Phil, did you try this gelato? Oh my God, I can't believe how great. Oh my, did you try the pizza? Oh my God. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good, right? He goes, oh my God. So that got in deep. I saw how much he loved it and continues to love it to this day. And I thought right then and there, wouldn't it be great to do this for everybody? And it took, so Raymond stayed on the air till 2005. And then it took 10 years to get I'll Have What Phil's Having on PBS. I never stopped wanting to do this dream of a passion project. And then I did that for 6 episodes. And then Netflix came and said, hey, we like this. Come over to Netflix. Okay.
And
now it's
also,
Somebody Feed Phil.
I know you began as an actor, actually, and I think I noticed that because it's so fun to watch and you're very engaging and hilarious. But you described, when you pitched the show,
Yes.
you described yourself as...
Yes, I pitched it with one line. I said, I'm exactly like Anthony Bourdain if he was afraid of everything.
which is good, and I think some of the terror of when you're on a boat or something, or on like a surfboard. I mean, we are there with you, and it is quite terror. I'm doing kind of jumping into.
I loved Bourdain. I watched him for the 12 years that he was on. I don't think I ever missed an episode, and to me, he was superhero. You know, the entire genre owes everything to him because he reinvented it, right? And not only that, but he became. He went from being a chef to a very good host to an expert journalist. He was CNN's #1 show of any kind by the end there. I mean, incredible. So I watch him and I go, you're amazing. I'm never doing that. Because he's going to Borneo. He's getting drunk with tribesmen and they're dipping nails in paint and then hitting them into his chest to make a tattoo. That's not me, Sandra. I'm not doing that. But I thought that maybe there were other couch potatoes like me who would see me go and just get on a plane and go as being the ultimate adventure. You know, if that putz can go outside, maybe I can too. So this is the show for the rest of us.
But you have limits, do you not, of what
Of course.
you might ingest? So, and you've eaten a lot of stuff. But,
I do, but I'm not Andrew Zimmern either. I'm not Anthony Bourdain, certainly.
Right.
There are, you know, I don't want anything that most Americans think as disgusting. So do I. And so bugs, I'm not into bugs. Have you eaten bugs in your life?
My brother has eaten the crickets from Mexico, and they're like,
I've had one or two of those.
Yeah.
You know, if nobody told you and they were just in your taco, they'd be crunchy and salty and you wouldn't know. And apparently crickets are going to save the planet because they're this ultimate source of very inexpensive protein, right? But I have eaten an ant or two, yes, in both Tokyo and I believe Mexico. And what else have I eaten? Oh, the worst thing was the 1,000-year-old egg in China, in Hong Kong. Have you done that?
That horrible. And usually, and we watch very carefully, all of us, when you go, you'll take a bite and you'll go, like we're watching you carefully, and you go, oh. And very occasionally, I think, I want to say in Singapore, because of course, those of us who watch are taking notes all the time.
Wow.
I think there was a green sugar cane beverage that was
Juice.
made.
The juice of the sugar cane.
Yeah,
They run through the presser over and over to
you took
squeeze
a sip
out
of it,
every ounce of that.
But they didn't have a shot of you going, and then a few scenes later, you're still carrying it. But
No,
maybe
it's great. It's great. It's great. There's no equivalent for that. We don't have that.
Okay, well, I didn't get the reaction shot on
You
that.
and I should go find that.
It is.
Sugarcane juice. It's awesome. And it's not too sweet. I thought it would just be this much sugar, but it's not. I've had much sweeter stuff that's not sugarcane.
Okay. But so the 1,000-year-old egg, that's fair enough.
That's the bottom.
That's was it a tofu that was like, it had a horrible name?
Actually in Taipei, which was not in the show, just on a trip, I had the Stinky Tofu. And stinky is a very, very nice word for what that is.
Yeah.
To me, everybody's different. I know people who love it.
Well,
but, by the way, people warned me about durian.
yeah.
This is going to smell like somebody's foot that's been cut off and kept in a bag for 25 years. That they told me it was going to be the worst thing ever. And so I'm dreading it because I know I have to eat them in Bangkok on a street fair. And this is it. Now, here we go. You know what? It didn't smell bad to me. And it tasted like a kind of juicy ice cream. I don't know. It was crazy good to me. And then I had it a couple more times to make sure it wasn't just that one or the ripeness of it. I like it.
So I'm going to go into some audience questions in just a moment, but I have to ask one more as having Lutheran background. Lutefisk?
Oh, no, I'm not doing that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good. Okay.
Nope. I know all about that. I know. I saw Bourdain do it. I saw him also puke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
no, thank you.
So you have some super fans here that have a bunch of questions, so we're going to just let
I
it
love you,
out.
super fans. Thanks for watching.
Okay, and from Rick and Kim Han.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi,
In
Rick.
general, how many days do you spend on location for each trip?
A week. And so it looks like I'm eating a lot, doesn't it? But that week is being condensed into an hour. And here's the other secret. You know how they make a dog food commercial? They don't feed the dog until the commercial. So I'm the dog. So that scene, right? That's the scene probably of the day. Maybe there's two scenes, but I'm not eating anything else because I want to eat on camera and I want to actually be excited when I eat on camera. There's no acting. Even though I was an actor a long time ago and studied in school, there's no acting.
So so they don't feed the dog. That's nice. That's very nicely put. I think Susan Delaney comments that she was way up, I think, in her assessment of how long it took you to film those. Okay.
What did you think?
Susan, did you can type in the chat and we'll see what happens. Okay. before we go back to the, Rick and Kim Han, Linda Miller, ask him about his dad, who is wonderful. How is your dad doing? He's so funny.
He is really funny. He's 94.
Jeez.
And he has a joke for us every single episode this season. It's amazing. He can't tell you what he had for breakfast, but he knows every Jewish joke from the Catskills ever written. He's a repository for, like, you don't need the Library of Congress. It's all in Max Rosenthal's head.
And was he a writer too? I should know this. No, he was just that guy. He was just that guy.
He was a tailor.
Okay. And this kind of goes back to our theme a little bit, but we have you in your wife's Pilates room. What was your least favorite meal?
That 1,000-year-old egg.
Okay. Okay, we can cover that. Okay. Of all your travels, which was your favorite destination?
Italy.
Yeah, and you were actually going to Venice, right, to celebrate an anniversary.
40th anniversary.
Oh my gosh.
And then look what happened.
And okay, and so when you go to Italy, your first, actually I remember Anthony Bourdain, when he came to LA, it was like an In-N-Out burger. But
yes.
you go to Venice.
Yeah.
Your first dinner, what's your very first dinner you have to have?
Ooh, there's so many good ones. There are just a couple of restaurants that I love. Alcovo is a great one. Antiche Carampane is a great one. Oh my God, I even found great pizza on this last trip that we went. Oh yeah, no, it's very hard to go wrong in Italy. And here's the thing about Italy for me, and I've been many places, but I haven't been everywhere. But so far, you've been somewhere where you feel like you belong there, right? So in Italy, for me, everywhere you look is gorgeous. Every bite of food is delicious, and everyone is hugging and kissing you. So what's not to like? So that's for me. That's the one. It's comfortable and beautiful and everything to me.
But I want to know the first bite. Is it pasta? What is it? If you're just
if I'm landing in Florence, it's going to be Vivoli, which I think you saw maybe in the show. That was in the PBS show, and I'll have what Phil's having. And Silvana Vivoli, whose gelato I'd been having for years. Every trip, it would be the first stop because it's the best gelato to me in the world. And they make a chocolate chip that's just like mind blowing. Okay. So I would go there with them. And now I'm filming the show and I get to meet her and I get to go in the back and she makes some fresh gelato and she puts her little spoon in and she puts it in my mouth and I burst into tears.
That's amazing. Okay, and we're getting, recommendations. Dennis Chen wants to know, have you eaten cuttlefish pasta?
Yes, excellent. That's a Venice treat. Yes, excellent.
We're really in
Especially
conversation.
on Burano, which is one of the islands, 40-minute boat bus ride. I recommend that. Bourdain did a very beautiful segment on that in his Venice show. Yeah, there's so many. If you want to know everywhere we go and the restaurants and the links to the restaurant, I have a website called philrosenthalworld.com. And so everywhere we go is there.
Fantastic. All right. Do you plan to resume post-COVID? What will that look like in the future?
I don't know. I'm like everybody. I can't wait. But I will say this to the people. This will end. I know it will end. How? Why am I so confident? Because it's ended in every other time in human history. There'll be the vaccine, right? We'll take the vaccine when it's safe, when we listen to the scientists, right? And we're going to wait for all the testing. We're going to wait and listen, I don't even update my phone until I see what happens to everybody else. So I'm not taking the first vaccine off the truck that some guy says, just take it. Common sense, right? So we're going to wait and we're going to see. And just like a flu shot or any other cure for a disease, I had the shingles vaccine this year because I'm very old. So, you take it because it's been proven to work. And then the world will be returned to us. It's just not going to happen, as fast as we want it to, like the election. We have to wait. So we're gonna be patient. We're gonna wait. But here's what we can do: watch a show like mine, and take notes and plan your trip for a year from now. I think it will be ready in a year from now. I hope Netflix picks up the show again so that I can go a year from now. But by the way, even if they don't pick up the show, I'm going. I postponed my 30th anniversary trip. We were going to Venice, Marrakesh, and Paris, my wife and I. Yes, it was going to be nice. But I'm going, just postponed, we're going.
Yes, and Wendy Levine just asked about Monica, if she'll be traveling with you more, because I know she's been with your dad, and that's been great. Like, will she?
She is always welcome, and I want her to come with me whenever possible. She has, her own life with lots of things. She's saving the world, Monica.
Another question is, and it maybe, you can answer it off screen. Are you looking for a couple of middle-aged PAs to take on the show with you?
Oh, you make it sound so, the resume sounds amazing. How can I not want them? The middle-age part. Wow. God.
Well, it's Rick and Kim. It's the Rick and Kim show.
Rick and Kim.
They might.
Well, if it's Rick and Kim.
If it's Rick. So I want to go back for a moment that you've called yourself, aside from the Anthony Bourdain who fears everything, as annoyingly positive. Okay. Can you explain what you mean by yourself being annoyingly positive?
Well, I like Netflix even gave me this note. It looks like he likes everything. and I'm like, yeah, I'm getting to live the dream. It took me 10 years to do this. I get depressed like everybody else. I get angry at the state of things. I'm a person. But when I'm making somebody feed Phil, you're seeing me, first of all, get fed. But secondly, you're seeing the culmination of my life's work. I've taken everything I've learned about how to make a television show, which I love doing, and it's in the service of everything else I love about life. Family, friends, food, travel, laughs. I love what I'm doing. And let's say I have a bite of something that I'm not crazy about. Guess what? It's not in the show. So I'm showing you the things that I really, really like. Why? Because I want to get you to travel. I think the world would be better if we all could experience a little bit of other people's experiences. I want to show you the best stuff. So yes, I know it's annoying. He likes everything, but that's what I'm showing you. That's
so your fans say, no, love, you're showing your energy. All the best from Guillermo Martinez. Phil, my life loves your show and makes me watch. I sit and watch another thing we do together. And thank you for mentioning the list of places and dishes on your website. Can't wait to inform my life. Rock on, Phil. So
rock on.
It just feels good. It just is. It's a great circle. Nice? And I think that you find, I just feel when you're talking about the Italians are like you, like it just feels like everywhere you go, you're resonating with people all over. And also children are really hilarious when you watch children. It's like that you take them seriously, they take you seriously, and that part is like really hilarious. They're not lying.
Oh no, I love them so much, and everywhere I go, you find that kids are all the same, and that people mostly are so much better than their governments, and everyone wants the same thing around the world. You've traveled. Everyone wants to be happy and healthy. They want their kids to be happy and healthy. They want a good education. They would like healthcare. They would like clean air, food, and water. Why wouldn't you? Right? So these are not liberal causes. These are human traits. My show was never supposed to be political, but because of the world today, the act of embracing other people physically and in every other way, their culture, suddenly this means I'm the Hollywood liberal or something? No, I'm a person. This is how I would like to be treated, right? Doesn't it go back to the golden rule? Doesn't the golden rule cut through all religions and boundary lines? If we all just observe the golden rule, wouldn't it be okay, everyone?
Just no 1,000-year-old eggs, but those are from late.
Those can go to hell. But everything else.
But some people like that also. So, and speaking of, causes, and I'm sure Monica was involved. Recently, you did, you fed people at the polls, did you not?
Yeah, I started a thing called Somebody Feed the People.
Somebody Feed the People, which apparently was a huge, like the voting turnout was unbelievable in this country. And can you tell a little bit about how that came about?
So I wanted to do this. I thought it was criminal that people had to wait online to exercise their right to vote. It was deliberate. It was trying to disenfranchise them. It was trying to get them to not vote by having them wait on horrible lines of 10, 12 hours, you know, in all kinds of weather and whatnot. I mean, it's just awful in America. So I thought, what small act of kindness could we do to make this better? Well, food is always welcome. And I saw that Jose Andres saw this as a natural disaster, like any other disaster, right? And I'm like, I'm just going to use this name. If it means anything, you know, branding wise, Somebody Feed, if it gets attention, all the money's going to him. All the money's going to him. He has the infrastructure. He knows what he's doing. He's paying restaurants and food trucks to feed the people. So you get a double whammy, right? You get to the restaurants and food trucks, they need a bailout. So this is a way to help them a little bit. And then a group called Pizza to the Polls, they had the same idea. So the money was going there. And so I think it worked. I think it was successful. And now, why not keep going? So I'm going to keep putting money into this. I'm going to keep the website open, somebodyfeedthepeople.org. And wherever Jose Andres wants to go and help people and feed people, and whatever food banks and other food charities that I'm involved with, it will go there. Everything, every penny is going to feed the people. That's it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I know that you have supported a lot of restaurants as well. And that's part of your journey also. And I think you've said, yes, you invest in restaurants because you are
not very bright.
But yes, but it's really fantastic, the support and the enthusiasm. And can you tell a little bit about your YouTube series, which is it's so fun. It's so.
Phil's Finds, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't done them in a while just because of COVID, but I think there's a way to keep doing. Obviously, I went today. I sat with friends outside. I had dim sum on La Cienega at Capital Seafood. It was great. And you can safely, you wear the mask until you eat, and then you eat, and you're outside, and everyone have you been tested lately? Yes, I got tested yesterday. I got tested. And you eat. And it's a lot like real life. And it means the world to me. And we laugh and have fun, and we eat a ton of food. And then we'll do it again next week. And I do it. I have a backyard. I have a table. I order in almost every meal. I order in because I want to support the restaurants. It's very important.
Right. And so people can find that, and there'll be a link in our chat of linking to it. So you can just have Phil if like these Netflix aren't enough episodes, and I just say they're so incredible, and the editing and it's just and I think that what you're saying, it is very experiential. And I noticed in this last series, a fandom can say, like the Rio de Janeiro, you're lying in your bed, and then you fling open the curtains, and there's Olive Carnival there. And in the midst, and the
people outside. It was January.
Oh my God. And the Mississippi Delta, where you're walking through, I think the way that you're shooting it is so we do feel like we're there with you. And it's such a fun discovery. And I don't know how you do it, and your team does it, but it's really fantastic.
It's kind of easy. There's no lying in it. We don't do second takes. We don't do they say you're going to go in the Mississippi Delta. You're going to walk down here, this famous shack that every blues legend has ever played. You're just going to walk in and sit down, and we'll follow you. Doesn't have to be perfectly, framed or anything. We do have 2 cameras, so we have editing choices. That's the art of it. That's it.
Right.
And what you see is what you get. And you're right. It is experiential. I am experiencing at that moment. I'm meeting this person for the first time usually, unless I say, here's my old friend, right? But I go in, I'm transported, and hopefully if I think for you to be transported, I think I have to be transported.
And the very last question is the dish you're looking forward to most in the holidays.
Turkey.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Oh, wait. Can I change?
Yes.
Did you ever have roast goose for Christmas or Thanksgiving?
Yes, but they have to be very careful because all the fat comes out, but it is amazing.
But you gather that fat, and what do you do with it? On the potatoes.
Ugh.
Grown men weep.
Okay. Goose fat on potatoes, Samantha. I could see Samantha's hovering and,
Samantha,
regretting all the
make
pizza that the family.
No, goose, maybe king of meats.
Okay.
Good to know. Well, thank you so much, Bill Rosenthal. We are so happy to have you on the new season 4 on Netflix. Somebody be Bill. It is fantastic. It is the perfect thing. You'll be in Rio de Janeiro. You'll be eating stuff. It's just, and thank you so much for your spirit. And I'm getting a little bit weepy. It's so positive, and we so need it. And you are joy and everything good.
I love you and all the people watching. I'm very flattered that you would watch, and I'll see you on the TV. And Sandra, we're going to eat soon, right? Outside.
Yes, we're totally going to eat outside.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Phil. And thanks, Sandra. And thanks, Kristen, and thanks, Nas, for an amazing night. And thank you to our sponsor, the Goswami Clinic in Newport Beach. Before we continue further, I just have to add that I have eaten witchetty grubs in Australia, and if you roast them right, they taste like cream corn. Anyway, please join us for our next episode on November 20th. We're going to have a funny all-girl lineup, or an all-funny girl lineup. Yeah, that's right, including Arden Marine and Annabelle Gurwitch. As always, I encourage everybody to read our newspapers and visit our websites to stay informed, and perhaps equally important, to be entertained like I hope you were tonight. Anyway, if you'd like to share your thoughts from today or you have additional questions, please email us at events@scng.com. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. I'll see you next time. Bye.